like this.
New homestead's quite the learning experience. Bring your kids. Why, hello there! I'm Bill Starsap of Starsap Tours. Let me tell you, this place is full of history and interesting facts. For instance, did you know that New Homestead was one of the first colonies established outside of Earth? It's been populated in some capacity for over 200 years. Well, there's plenty more where that came from if you're interested in taking one of my famous tours. So what do you say? I've got an opening. I could take you on a tour right now if you'd like. Why would I want a tour of New Homestead, he says. Well, let me tell you, New Homestead is living history. These people are direct descendants of some of the first settlers to leave Earth. If you've ever wanted to know what that early colonial life was like, this is your chance to embark on a fun-filled exhibition unlike any other. Definitely check out the Brown Horse Tavern. Good food, great atmosphere. Avoid spending too much time outdoors. It's freezing out there. Any more than that, and I'd be giving away the tour for free. None taken. I get it all the time. If you think it sounds made up, well, that's because it is. I come from an eccentric family. Back in the early days of space travel, generations ago, my ancestors were really into science fiction. They wanted a name that seemed like it fit into the stories they grew up with, so they changed their last name, and the Starsap family name was born. Used to be Bramblefoot before that. Their ancestors liked a different type of fiction. Excellent! You won't regret it! My tours are one of a kind! Now, there's just the matter of price. The going rate for a genuine Starsap tour is only 100 credits. Well, 100 credits is very reasonable, I think. That's okay. This tour isn't for everyone, I know that, but my price is fair, and I think it's well worth the money. No one's forcing you to go on it. This is what you call negotiating? Tell you what, I like you. This one's on the house, but if you enjoyed the tour, I'd really appreciate if you'd tell all your friends about me when it's done. So let's get this show on the road, eh? All right, so this is New Homestead's main concourse. This underground area didn't exist when the original outpost, Titan Astro Base, was finished in 2130. Follow me. We'll come back here by the end of the tour and talk about the museum collection. But first, let's go see where people live. Now remember, these people aren't actors. They actually live here, so try to be respectful of that. While the original inhabitants of the Titan Astro Base lived in pods like you saw up above, they transitioned down here when this section of the base was finished in 2144. Space is extremely limited, so you'll notice some overflow here. But more residences also exist on lower levels, which are inaccessible to tours. I'll stop at each of our destinations if you want to look around, or if you have any questions for me.
Ah! I have so much energy. I want to run around. always so cold here. You'll never catch me! That's way more it's here.
Do you need medical assistance? Great! Another tourist. Let me guess. You slipped on the ice and need a doctor to wrap your sprained ankle? They do, but they're also a terrible burden for a small colony doctor like myself. I have enough trouble treating our own people with the time and resources I have. Maybe. I'm sorry if it sounded harsh. I'm just frustrated. However, I think if you walked a mile in my shoes, you'd probably feel the same. Anyway, what can I do for you? Even though we don't have shiny new medical facilities, I imagine it's easier than wherever you're from. We have fewer people here, and we're very responsible when it comes to our personal health and welfare. So there's not much I can't handle. For anything else, we can get access to off-world specialists. Contrary to popular belief, we're not primitive. It's a harsh world, but as long as you're inside or wear a suit when going out, you'll be fine here. There's no breathable air on the surface, and you'll quickly freeze to death outside without protective gear, but otherwise the hazards are minimal. New Homestead was an early colony research base and has stood the test of time. It's safe, and it's proof that people can live pretty much anywhere. Don't worry so much. I don't. They make a mockery of New Homestead culture. And on top of it, they're reckless. It's like I said before, I feel like I'm treating them more often than our own people. The problem is that most of the tourists' injuries are from preventable accidents, things our people know how to avoid. And often I have to take care of them first because they can't leave with their injuries, so I have to put off seeing my regular patients. So not only am I working extra hard for people who have little respect for me, it comes at the expense of our own. Actually, maybe there is. I have an idea that may be best suited for someone relatively unknown instead of myself. I've got a mountain of work and a reputation to maintain. So I bought a realistic monster costume. The plan was to wear it, scare tourists away, and start a rumor about terrible creatures living on Titan. I figure that once word gets around, tourism will take enough of a dive to give me some relief. Maybe, I'm not sure. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't have any other ideas. The tourism board flat out won't help me, and I don't have money in the budget to hire additional help. And you know these tourists will believe anything they see and hear. I think it's worth a shot. Worst case scenario, I'm back to square one. That's the spirit. To be honest, I'm not sure it'll work either, but I feel like there's no harm in trying. Here's the costume. I think this will work best on the surface, so just find a group and run up to them, acting like a convincing alien monster. With any luck, they'll run screaming and book the next flight out of here.
I can't wait to go away on my learning vacation when I grow up.
Have any questions so far? I'm not sure the exact count, but New Homestead is a fairly small colony. What you see is what you get for the most part, except for some other people who live in the private lower levels. Some, particularly security, and yours truly, even commute from other worlds. The original Titan Astrobase had more habitation pods on the surface connected to some of the old structures you may have seen in the back. As the colony grew, the base was expanded underground, and those hab units were recycled into materials used down here. Sadly, it's difficult to get additional construction done inside these underground caverns. So for now, additional populations are housed in these stacks of old shipping crates. As you might expect, this is where some of the less wealthy can afford to live. It's not glamorous, but they are functional and cozy. Oh, sure, I'll be here waiting. The locals love to talk with tourists, but they'll let you know if they're busy. So please respect them.
You off-worlders have it made.
Off-worlders always ask how I can live here. I wonder how they can live anywhere else. It's a little weird that people come here to see what early colony life was like. To me, it's just how we live.
If you need medical attention, see Dr. Lakota. But a word of warning, she really doesn't care for tourists. Lots of history here, if you're into that sort of thing.
All these tourists are able to come and go as they please. I wish I had that kind of money.
Have any questions so far? Alrighty. We'll be taking the residential elevator to the farms area on the surface level. This way, please. Let's leave these good people alone for now and go check out the farms. Follow me up the elevator.
The people here live a simple life. Try not to complicate it.
New Homestead's farms are the beating heart of the colony. Without them, the original outpost would have shriveled and died.
We used to get more
Pods are
tourists
sealed
than we
and
do these
climate
days.
controlled, a perfect environment for growing the hydroponic vegetation needed for survival in the early days of the colony. Any questions about the farms? These days, it's a mix of what you find elsewhere in the galaxy, but in the olden days, it was all brought over from Earth. It was a lot of hardy root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beets, and such, supplemented with corn, peas, green beans, soy, etc., which didn't always grow as well. Oh, they are indeed. Colonists still cultivate plant-based food for their own consumption here in New Homestead. It's less vital to their survival these days, as they also import supplemental food from other colonies, including meats, dairy, and synthetics. However, most citizens here take pride in a New Homestead-grown, sustainable diet. Good question. It's largely the same, because this was the colony that pioneered the techniques you see elsewhere. But you'll notice that the farms here are smaller and staffed by humans, not robots. Things here are a little more old-fashioned compared to some of the large factory farms you'll find elsewhere in the settled systems. By all means, go right ahead. Feel free to talk to the farmers, but I ask you respect their privacy and don't bother them too much. After all, they are on the job. Come back and let me know when you're ready to move on.
Running this farm with my family for the sake of our little colony.
I don't mind the tourists. They help the local economy.
Hello. Don't mind me. I love talking with off-worlders like you. Thanks again for taking the time to answer questions for me. I learned a lot from you.
I've heard about lots of other planets out there. Some of them sound pretty scary, though. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me.
Vandalism seriously here. You don't mess with history.
I kind of want to try food from that Junk's place, but my papa says it's just a bunch of junk food for tourists. You have a spaceship. I want to get a spaceship when I'm older. They're so cool.
Those folks in Zenonia may
processing
be
smell
close
after a
to
while.
it, but we do a better job preserving its traditions.
I could really go for some of Anya's cooking over at the Brown Horse.
nice to get off world sometime.
Hi there. Always nice seeing a new face.
Off-worlders always ask how I can live here. I wonder how they can live anywhere else.
Well, we used to get more tourists than we do these days.
I overheard you speaking to my wife, Mara, filling her head with ideas about picking up and leaving home. You got anything to say for yourself? Listen here. Mara's free to make her own decisions. I'm not here to control her if that's what you're insinuating. But that doesn't mean I take kindly to other people manipulating her and telling her the other worlds are full of sunshine and rainbows. We live a simple, traditional life here, and it's important to the community that we maintain that. Do you understand? Traditions like the way we tend this farm, strong family ties, early colonial life. We do it all with the bare minimum technologies to survive. Everything else is hard work done by humans. It's good for humanity's soul. Did you? Well, she should know better than to talk with tourists like you, but that's between me and her. Now, you might want to consider heading off before you cause any more trouble. I overheard you speaking to my wife, Mara, filling her head with ideas about picking up and leaving home. You got anything to say for yourself? Listen here. Mara's free to make her own decisions. I'm not here to control her if that's what you're insinuating. But that doesn't mean I take kindly to other people. We live a simple, traditional life here. We're going to have to agree to disagree then. I only ask that you respect our wishes.
The elders say that preserving our tradition is so important, but I keep hearing such wonderful things.
Any questions about the farms?
Well, we tend to farm here because we need to grow food, and that's what our ancestors...
Onward it is! We'll be stopping by the Brown Horse Tavern later in the tour, which uses many of these locally sourced ingredients in their cooking. But for now, it's just a short way to our next stop. Follow me! So, the old biolabs are just on the other side of this building, believe it or not. We'll step on through the hallway there. They're not in use anymore, but the colony has faithfully recreated them as a historical exhibit, true to the original purpose of the Titan Astrobase. Sadly, they're undergoing some light renovation. Otherwise, there'd be interactive activities for kids to learn about how they used to search for microbial life here. Pardon the dust, but I can still answer some questions about the old Titan Astrobase biolabs. Funny you should ask. Sadly, none. See, NASA funded the Titan Astrobase project because conditions seemed ripe for primordial life to form in Titan's methane pools. They tested many different sites, performed deep core ice drilling, and more, yet nothing turned up. Well, NASA defunded the xenobiology program in 2132, but a scientist by the name of Catherine Neely proposed research into advanced colony building on inhospitable worlds. So, by 2135, work began on what would ultimately set us all up to create habitats anywhere humans dared to explore. These very labs housed the computer systems used in that research. That and general storage for the colony. Lots of storage. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot to mention that. That's what this place was originally called. When NASA divested its interest in the astrobase and turned it over to the people back in 2185, they renamed it New Homestead and established it as a historical site. You got it. On to our next stop. Next, we'll be heading outside, so make sure to check those seals on your suit because it's a bit chilly out there. We're going out into the frozen wastes of Titan to see what powers this planet. Watch your step outside, by the way. The ice can be slippery if you're not careful. The goal is to keep people out of Dr. Lakota's infirmary. This old colony is that it's mostly powered by clean, renewable energy. You'll see one of the methods used on the horizon up ahead. That's right, New Homestead's famous wind farms. This spot was chosen for the colony in part because of its constant winds. These turbines have been integral to the colony's function since its establishment as a cheap, mostly reliable source of electricity. So, let's talk about wind power, shall we? Mostly. I'm sure you've noticed the occasional brownouts. I guess these old machines have a habit of freezing up, what with all the ice out here. There's some methane on reserve for critical life support systems, but everything else here is otherwise powered by the units you see here. You're looking at a piece of history. Sure, wind power is used throughout the galaxy, but these people were able to make do with it for hundreds of years. It's impressive that was all they had back then, and still make it work to this day. You're right. Most surface wind on Titan isn't too terribly strong, but here, the altitude and other conditions are perfect for sustained wind power. Like many worlds with atmosphere, the higher you go, the windier it gets. Absolutely. Careful, though. I wouldn't stand too close to the turbines if I were you. So, let's talk about wind power, shall we? You're the boss. Let's go. Moving right along, we're going to learn about Titan's great natural resources. Titan is rich with hydrocarbons like methane and ethane. Surely you saw huge pools of this stuff on your descent into New Homestead. I like to think they add to the natural beauty of this world. Oh, of course, stay away from them because, like anything beautiful, they can be dangerous. Just like my last ex-wife's pet. She had this gorgeous, I don't know what you'd call it, creature. The guy that sold it to her couldn't tell her what it was or where it was from. I don't think it was even a legal sell, to be honest. The thing was very easy on the eyes. Feathers, all the colors of the rainbow. Nasty bite, though. Wound up in the hospital and almost lost my hand. Still not enough for her to get rid of the dang thing. Anyway, there's a reason she's my ex-wife. But enough about me. We were talking about methane and other resources, right? Hey, can you believe it? Back in the 20th century on Earth, they used to fight wars over natural resources like this and petroleum. They had this whole moon here basically made of hydrocarbons in their own backyard. They just couldn't get to it. Incredible how far we've come. New Homestead is home to one of the oldest and largest methane processing plants in the settled system. Every year, UC engineers go through a painstaking, month-long maintenance process. That's how this place has remained operational as long as it has. I'm not going to take you too close to the machinery, liability and all, but I can still answer questions. Questions? Fire away. Exports mostly, since this world is so methane rich and has the infrastructure for it, a lot of the UC's methane comes from Titan. Of course, new homesteaders use it themselves for everything from generating heat to turning it into breathable oxygen via modern science. Oh, no one's ever asked me that before. Something to do with methane-eating microbes, I believe? I honestly don't know. Sorry. It's not as if they shut down for a month. It's not shut down at all, actually. See, this place is built with redundant systems, so they can shut it down piece by piece and suffer only a reduction in throughput. During that time, the UC gets more of its resources from other places, allowing New Homestead to maintain what it needs. Take your time, but not too much time. Don't want to keep other customers waiting, you know. questions? Fire away. Okie dokie, Artichoke. There will be time for more later anyway. So, this next stop is a bit of an interesting one. I only recently made it part of the tour. Fun fact, it's also the only natural landmark on the tour. What we're about to see is a glacial spire we affectionately call Ymir's Horn. This collis used to be named after a character in a popular fantasy novel, but it was changed a couple hundred years ago to avoid any potential litigation. Now, what's a collis, you might say? Collis derives from the Latin word for hill, and scientists only gave names to groups of hills on a planet's surface. So in reality, the term you hear more often is the plural, colles, with an E. You probably don't hear it very often where you're from, because it was usually a term reserved for unexplored planets, back when they didn't have the technology to describe what they were seeing firsthand. Because of that, the term is much more common in the Sol system, but you may still hear it occasionally in reference to uncharted worlds. This planet's full of them, though, and they like to preserve that history here. So here it is, Ymir's Horn. You're free to take a closer look if you like. How about that? You really know your stuff. Maybe you should be the one giving the tour. I kid. I'm not sure. I heard someone say that before. Something about the worn-down remains of an ancient volcano producing ice via steam? I don't know. It sounds like you understand this stuff better than I do. According to ancient Norse mythology, Ymir was the first Jotun, a frost giant. In the legend, they were both male and female and gave birth to the progenitors of all giants from their armpits. Ymir even predated the Norse gods, who, as it turns out, killed Ymir to fashion the Earth and all of humanity from the corpse. It's a fascinating story, and the horn here is a fitting tribute to it. Just be careful, it can get slippery out that way. I'll wait here. So here it is, Ymir's Horn. You're free to take a closer look if you like. Excellent. On to the next stop then. So, we're gonna head back inside through the methane processing plant. Try not to touch anything on your way. We want to make sure to respect Dr. Lakota's wishes to be safer around here. That brings me to another point. You'll notice the people around here have last names related to where their families originated from on Earth, as a way to remember the past. The museum curator, Maurice Leon, has more information about that if you're interested. You can find him inside the main concourse. Loves talking about it. You'll find most of the locals here are very friendly to tourists like yourself. Tourism is a major draw to this colony these days, and I respect that. Most of them are happy to talk at length about what they do here. Their rugged lifestyle is a point of pride for a lot of these folks. This area we're walking through is the nerve center of the plant, where technicians keep an eye on the operation. Since methane production is such an important part of the colony's livelihood, it's important that the techs notice any issues and react to them quickly. Anyway, we're headed into the ice mines. It's a natural spring where water bubbles up from deep below, but due to the cold, it keeps freezing as it reaches the surface.
Looks like we got another leak in Sector 3.
What can I tell you about the ice mines? Good question. I believe it has something to do with not wanting to contaminate the water with methane and other chemicals. The ice helps prevent impurities in the water. At least this is what I've been told. I wouldn't recommend it. First, it's an active work site. Second, it still needs to be filtered and checked for contaminants. But don't worry, we'll stop somewhere for refreshments before the tour is over. Not all. Some water is created as a byproduct of methane processing, but that's usually saved in the emergency reserves. Of course, watch your step. It can get slick around here. I'll stay behind. Can I tell you about the ice mines? Sounds good. Let's keep going then. We have just one more stop before we're done with the tour, and it just happens to be my favorite. This colony is home to the longest running establishment still in existence, the Brown Horse Tavern. The Brown Horse started as a simple mess hall for the scientists and workers when the underground was built, but it's been operated by the same family ever since. Now, what's a horse, you might say? They were a large four-legged animal on Earth, often used for transportation or manual labor. Long Long before space travel was even a dream for the folks of Earth, even before antique machines like automobiles were possible, horses could be found everywhere. You might have seen them in old movies or read about them somewhere. If not, I highly recommend looking into them sometime. They're beautiful animals. The tavern's original owner was infatuated with them, from what I understand, and named the place in their honor. The moniker, Brown Horse Tavern, is also a throwback to names of similar Earth restaurants hundreds of years before it was established.
And they already believe. That's a good point. They already gawk at us like we're some sort of ancient curiosity.
Oh, I'm just trying to have a little fun. But you're probably right.
Off-worlders always ask how I can live here. I wonder how they can live anywhere else.
How about those brownouts last week?
I know. I'm just glad the auxiliary power picked up. Remember that time a few years back where everyone had to huddle together for warmth?
Oh, the tourists hated that. Well, Joyce says she's on it. Something about the turbines freezing up again.
Joyce is great at what she does. I'm sure she'll handle it.
That delicious smell is making me hungry. Can I answer anything about the brown horse? Easy. All the other ones fell to ruin when we abandoned Earth. There were technically older ones on Mars, but those have long since shuttered or been replaced. Ooh, that's a tough one. I honestly love everything Anya serves here. I'd be doing her a disservice to recommend one dish over another. You want the real answer? Order one of everything. Anya Seattle is the current owner of the Brown Horse. It's been in the Seattle family for generations. But Anya will be able to tell you more herself. Feel free to ask her. It doesn't feel right coming from me when she's standing right over there. Okay then. All right, we're headed to the last stop, right back where we began. Feel free to check out the museum exhibit in the main concourse here. These displays are full of rare Earth trinkets salvaged from before humanity left, and Maurice is happy to talk about the collection. The museum's curator, Maurice, will be happy to talk to you if you want to know more. Well, that's that. I hope you enjoyed Starsap tours as much as I enjoy giving them. Oh, wow. I really appreciate it. You know, I rely on tips from good people like you, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. Enjoy the rest of your stay in New Homestead. Take care!
homestead is a living history exhibit, but these are real people, so please be kind to them.
Hello there. The museum here is free to everyone.
Hated that. Well, Joyce says she's on it. Something about the turbines freezing up again.
Joyce is great at what she does. I'm sure she'll handle it.